What forgotten moments are hidden in these rarely seen photos from over a century ago? These photographs capture history in its rawest form, preserving the faces, places, and events that shaped our world. Welcome to Timeless Frames, where we bring the past back to life. Let's start. Times Square, 1921. This photograph captures the bustling energy of Times Square in 1921. The vibrant cityscape highlights the beginning of New York's iconic rise as a cultural hub. Mahatma Gandhi, September 1921. This image shows Mahatma Gandhi in September 1921 during his pivotal role in India's independence movement. His calm yet determined expression reflects his unwavering commitment to nonviolent resistance. Russian families during the Russian famine. This heartbreaking image shows Russian families suffering during the famine. Their exhausted expressions speak to the immense hardship faced during one of the deadliest periods in Russian history. Ku Klux Klan, meeting Georgia, 1920s. This photograph captures a Ku Klux Klan meeting in Georgia during the 1920s. The image starkly reflects the racial hatred and terror that defined the period in America. Scott and Zelda Fitzgerald, 1921. This portrait shows Scott and Zelda Fitzgerald in 1921, embodying the glamour and chaos of the Roaring Twenties. Their dynamic relationship would go on to define an era of excess and literary brilliance. 25-year-old Mary Anderson, Women's Bureau of the Labor Department. This photograph shows 25-year-old Mary Anderson, who led the Women's Bureau of the Labor Department. Her work advocated for better conditions for women in the workforce during the early 20th century. Hudson Factory Production Line, 1929. This image shows workers on the production line at the Hudson Factory in 1929. It reflects the industrial boom of the era, just before the onset of the Great Depression. First Miss America. This photograph captures the first ever Miss America. The image marks a cultural milestone, with the competition beginning in 1921 and evolving into a national tradition. Could this man, once a poor boy from South London, have imagined the global legacy he would leave? Let's watch Charlie Chaplin, 1921. This iconic image shows Charlie Chaplin, who grew up in poverty in South London before moving to America at 19. In 1921, he returned to England to promote his new film, The Kid, solidifying his place in film history. R-38 class airship and its tragic history. The R-38 class airship, designed for sea patrol during World War I, met a tragic end when its construction was abandoned after the armistice. Its brief history reflects the fleeting nature of airship innovation. Tulsa Race Massacre, 1921. This horrific event in 1921 is known as the worst incident of racial violence in American history. The Greenwood District in Tulsa, home to the wealthiest black community, was destroyed in a tragic act of racism. Women in British law enforcement, 1921. In 1921, women in Great Britain were allowed to become police officers, though they lacked the power of arrest. It wasn't until 1932 that Dorothy Peto became the first policewoman with arrest authority. Rabindranath Tagore, 1913 Nobel laureate. This historical photo shows Rabindranath Tagore, a philosopher and poet known as the Bard of Bengal. He opposed British rule and became the first non-European to win the Nobel Prize in Literature in 1913. Sarah Bernhardt, 1921. This historical photo shows Jewish-French actress Sarah Bernhardt, taken just 2 years before her death at 78. Her enduring legacy as one of the greatest actresses in history is captured in this image. Zenzo Shimizu, early tennis pioneer in Japan. Zenzo Shimizu was an early pioneer of Western-style tennis in Japan, making it to the semifinals of Wimbledon in both 1920 and 1921. His passion for tennis, despite being a corporate employee, helped shape the sport in Japan. School Milk Program, Madison, Wisconsin, 1921. This photo from 1921 shows children in a Madison, Wisconsin school drinking milk, highlighting early efforts to boost children's nutrition. The school milk program would become more widespread during World War II. What inspired the revolutionary spirit of 1919, uniting socialist movements across the globe? Let's watch Long live the Third Communist International, 1919. This historical image from 1919 supports the Third Communist International, reflecting the revolutionary spirit of the time. The movement aimed to unite global socialist movements under a common goal. Adolf Hitler becomes leader of the Nazi Party, 1921. On July 21, 1921, Adolf Hitler became the leader of the Nazi Party. This moment marked the beginning of his rise to power in Germany, which would have a profound impact on world history. Top-grossing film of 1921. This historical image marks the success of the top-grossing film of 1921, reflecting the booming film industry of the era. Cinema during this time began to captivate audiences worldwide. Babe Ruth leads Yankees to World Series, 1921. At just 26, Babe Ruth, having stopped pitching only 2 years before, led the Yankees to their first-ever World Series title in 1921. This historical photo captures a defining moment in baseball history. Composition with red, black, yellow, and blue, Piet Mondrian. This abstract artwork by Piet Mondrian represents the De Stijl movement, which he co-founded with Theo van Doesburg in 1917. The painting showcases Mondrian's signature use of primary colors and geometric forms. Thomas Edison with his phonograph, 1921. This photograph of 73-year-old Thomas Edison with his phonograph, taken in 1921, reflects his lifelong contributions to invention. The phonograph, invented in 1877, was one of his most transformative creations. Early radio broadcasting. Radio broadcasting became popular in the early 1920s due to advances in technology from World War I. This era marked the beginning of mass communication through radio waves. How did women like Anita King challenge the limits of their time, proving strength and independence behind the wheel? Let's watch. Cranking the car. Despite the misconception that women lack the strength to hand-crank vehicles, early female motorists, like Anita King in 1915, proved they were capable of completing solo cross-country drives. E.J. Hooper's basketball team, Oliver High School in Winchester, Kentucky, was a segregated school for black children from 1892 to 1956. E.J. Hooper's basketball team was a symbol of determination and excellence during this period. Pouring illegal alcohol into the New York sewer. During Prohibition, 1920 to 1933, criminal gangs took advantage of the liquor ban. This photo captures the symbolic act of pouring illegal alcohol into the New York sewer, reflecting the rampant illegal activity of the time. Permanent wave. As electricity use increased, it introduced new hair curling methods, like the permanent wave. This technique allowed for longer-lasting curls using heat and electricity. Cairo Conference, 1921. The Cairo Conference of 1921 was a key meeting that shaped the post-World War I order in the Middle East. Leaders discussed borders, mandates, and the future of the region. Prince Hirohito visits London. Prince Hirohito's 1921 European tour marked the first time a Japanese crown prince visited abroad. His visit to London was a historic moment in international diplomacy. The Hope in Durban show. Bob Hope, who started his career busking on streetcars and boxing for cash, teamed up with Lloyd Durban to create the Hope in Durban vaudeville act. This marked the start of his nearly 80-year entertainment career. The rise of fascism in Italy. This photo shows Benito Mussolini, known as Il Duce, attending a fascist meeting in Rome. It represents the growing influence of fascism in Italy during the early 1920s. Jack Dempsey, 1921. Jack Dempsey was one of the most successful boxers of the 20th century. In 1921, he defended his heavyweight champion title against French boxer Georges Carpentier in a historic fight. Igor Stravinsky, 1921. Famed composer Igor Stravinsky, known for his ballets The Firebird and The Rite of Spring, was living in France with his family in 1921. During this time, he continued to work on composing new pieces. What sparked the creation of a car that would go on to redefine luxury and performance? Let's watch. The King of Kitchens. In 1914, Lionel Martin and Robert Bamford built a car and registered it for the Aston Clinton Hill Climb in Buckinghamshire. Their creation would later become known as the Aston Martin, often referred to as the King of Kitchens. Flatiron Building, 1902. Built in 1902, the iconic triangular Flatiron Building anchors the block where Fifth Avenue, Broadway, and East 22nd Street meet in New York City. It remains a symbol of early 20th century architecture. Chicago policewoman checking bathing suit laws, 1921. This 1921 image shows a Chicago policewoman checking for violations of the bathing suit length laws, where women's suits couldn't be more than 6 inches above the knee. Jack Johnson, Galveston Giant. Jack Johnson, the first black world heavyweight champion, was a powerful figure in boxing and a prominent member of Harlem. Despite facing racism, he became an influential figure in the Harlem Renaissance and American history. Duke Kahanamoku, 1925. Duke Kahanamoku, an Olympic medal-winning swimmer from Hawaii, is seen here hanging 10 off the coast of Hawaii in 1925. He is credited with introducing surfing to the wider world. Cowboy herding cattle, ZT Ranch, Wyoming. This historical photo shows a cowboy herding cattle at the ZT Ranch in Pitchfork Park County, Wyoming. The ranch was part of the larger Pitchfork Ranch, famed for its photos by Charles Belden. Did you think that you know all about these historical photos? If no, then you are at the right video, so just hit the subscribe button to watch more videos like this. Washing Day, France. This photo shows French women washing their clothes by hand in the early 1920s, as the automatic washing machine wouldn't be invented for another 16 years, 1937. Luisa Tetrazzini, coloratura soprano. Luisa Tetrazzini, a renowned Italian coloratura soprano, is seen in this historical photo. She was internationally famous for her powerful and versatile vocal performances. President Warren Harding, 1921 to 1923. Warren Harding, the 29th President of the United States, served from 1921 to 1923. His presidency was marked by political scandals in the post-World War I transition. 6 Days of New York cycling event. The 6 Days of New York was an annual cycling event held at Madison Square Garden from 1899 to 1961. Cyclists raced for 6 days straight in a thrilling display of endurance. Kensal Green, London. This historical photo shows sweet little houses built in northwest London after World War I. Designed to save on costs and time, these homes became a haven for Irish immigrants, leaving a lasting Irish legacy in the neighborhood. The Great Depression. Marcella Lewis, pictured with her mother Pearl, vividly recalled the hard times of the Great Depression after the banks closed. The photo captures a personal moment from an era of widespread hardship. Proud to be home. This photo shows an African-American couple standing proudly in front of their home in the 1920s with their dog and 5 children. It reflects a sense of pride and resilience in their family life. Family picture, 1931. Robert Nelson posed with his parents and sister Laverne in the spring of 1931. The photo captures a moment of family togetherness during the early 1930s. What unseen strength and love does this mother embody as she cares for her children? Let's watch. A loyal mother. This touching photo shows a mother holding her infant while caring for her 5 other children. It captures the love and devotion of a mother balancing the demands of family life. Progress Expo, 1933. This photo from Chicago's Century of Progress exposition in 1933 features Mary Ryder with her sister Anne and cousin Marion. It showcases a moment from the World's Fair, a symbol of hope during the Great Depression. Posing for a portrait, 1925. A young mother poses with her 2 daughters for a studio portrait in 1925. The photo captures a moment of family bonding and timeless elegance. Christmas Baby, 1930. Marion Guthrie's son, Franklin, was born just before Christmas in 1930, bringing joy to his family during a difficult time. His arrival was a much-needed blessing during the Great Depression. Always Have Your Back, 1920s. 2 siblings posed together in the 1920s, with the older sibling wrapping her arm around her younger sister. The photo radiates love and support as if saying, "I have your back." Public Market, 1932. Claire Stickle, pictured with her mother and siblings, was praised for returning money she found at a public market in 1932. This act of honesty reflects a strong sense of integrity. Still having fun, 1928. Even though a Christmas tree was out of reach for poor families, Dorothy Lauman and her brothers found joy in the simple things in life. This photo captures a moment of playful fun during the Great Depression. The best that they could, Depression era. Donald Catt recalls the Depression years not as a time of unhappiness for children, but as a time when families made do with what they had. His family found ways to get by despite financial struggles. Depression years, 1934. Dorothy Beringer posed with her mother, older sister, and 4 brothers in 1934. Dorothy's mother showed compassion by helping lonely, hungry wanderers during the tough Depression years. What lessons in creativity and survival did families like Margie's learn during the Great Depression? Let's watch. Reuse and repurpose, 1920s to 1930s. For families like Margie Portis's during the 1920s and 1930s, learning to reuse and repurpose supplies was crucial. Margie credits her home economics teacher for teaching her to rework worn clothing into something new. Self-sufficiency, 1927. Curtis Darks and his large family embraced the values of self-sufficiency when they bought an 84-acre farm in Lebanon, Pennsylvania in 1927. Their lifestyle was centered around working together to overcome hardships. Still the best dressed, 1929. John Dahl fondly recalls being one of the best-dressed kids in Chicago, alongside his older brother George, in this 1929 photo. Their stylish outfits reflect the pride taken in appearance during this era. Perfectly poised, 1925. This tidy family poses for a formal portrait in 1925. Their composed expressions and neat clothing convey a sense of elegance and family unity. Little Dolores, 1926. Dolores Eggener's parents married in 1922, but her father sadly passed away 3 months before she was born in 1926. This photo captures a moment in her family's early, bittersweet history. Brooklyn, New York, Great Depression. Louis Tucciaroni, born 2 years after this family photo was taken, grew up in Brooklyn, New York during the Great Depression. The photo provides a snapshot of the family's life before his birth. Siblings together, 1925. In 1925, Julia Snyder posed for a photograph with her sister and brother. The image captures the strong bond between siblings during the 1920s. 9 children, 1920s. Mother Vada York set a strong example for her 9 children, including daughter Zada and her 8 younger siblings. The family's 9th child was born on October 28, 1929, merely a day before the stock market crash. Thanks for watching this video. But do you think you are missing one thing? Yes, of course, do subscribe, like, and share our Timeless Frames channel to get more videos like this. Goodbye.